finish my beer.
You see anything yet?
Yep. I think we're live now.
There we go. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is the 9x9, 81 square meters of the best volleyball, content, highlights, stats, storylines, whatever, west of the Atlantic Ocean. I'm Rob St. That's Everett Delorme. This is the Volleyball Source YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning into the show. We got a lot to get to today. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Hop in the live chat. Let us know where you're watching from or ask any questions throughout the show. And Everett, I want to jump right into it with a very big piece of news that came out just today.
Sad piece of news, really.
It is a sad piece of news.
I think you've seen it in the Discord of how Canadians have been reacting. I won't lie, I'm a little surprised by this. Not fully, but a little bit. And longtime captain, guaranteed starter, overall legend, arguably the greatest Canadian volleyball player to ever put on the Team Canada jersey. Gord Perrin has decided to retire from the national team. Now, before we get into the things, I do want to say that let's just put an asterisk to it. Because I feel like retiring from the national team is just one of those things that just happens sometimes, and then you can kind of get drawn back in, a la Taylor Sander last week. That we discussed about. We saw it with Gavin Schmidt, where he retired from the national team and then came back. But when he came back, there was not really any room for him. We had Vernon Evans, we had Sclater, and it was time for him to move on. But with Gord, I don't think that there's any doubt that he's leaving a massive hole in this team. And we've seen that as of recently, throughout the Olympics, throughout VNL this year, the Olympic qualifiers, whatever it may be, how he's playing right now with Novosi, the top team in Russia, that he is still at the top of his game and he is still performing. So yeah, I think overall it's a sad day for Canadian fans and Canadian men's volleyball. Gord Perrin has meant a lot to this team for a long time. He was the piece that this team was kind of built around. He was a piece that helped change the culture and helped change what Canadian volleyball was. As long as I've been involved with the national team and involved within Canadian volleyball, he's been a starter. And I've really seen this team grow. And not only this team, but I've really seen Gord grow. I remember particularly, it really sucks that the old, it's for stuff like this that I really lament that the old channel got canceled by Amazon, because I remember doing an interview with him in 2013, maybe 14, and we just lost to Korea in World League in Group 2, and he had multiple swings at the end, and he was just crushed, and he messed it up, didn't have a good go, and basically turned everything around and became the guy. And not only led him and Dallas Sunius led the World League Division II in efficiency for the rest of that year. And then that was the year that they qualified for the finals in Russia. Gord Perrin is more or less without a doubt the face of the Canadian national team and the guy. And it didn't matter if other guys, if there's Sclater or Vernon Evans or Gavin Schmidt, whoever it may be, are putting up big points. Everyone knew who the leader of that team was. And he set the tone. He helped create that culture. So the fact that Gord Perrin is retiring from the national team is a very sad day for Canadian volleyball fans. But at the same time, I think we just need to thank him for everything he's done. And thank him for the role that he played in building this program and building this team and really allowing Canadian volleyball players to put their mark on teams overseas, right? Playing in places like Russia where Canadians don't generally go. He was one of those first guys that I remember he left Thompson Rivers early. He left university early to go be a professional volleyball player, and that was unheard of at the time for a Canadian
Right.
player. Right back at the early 2010s, that was unheard of. No one did that. And of course, he did go play for Glen Hogue and Arcus, but I don't think he knows the impact he's had on the game fully. But yeah, it is a sad day for Canadian volleyball because it's going to leave a massive hole on that team. But that being said, of course, I wish Gord all the best. I hope that this helps him. I know that, and we discussed last week how difficult it is to be an indoor volleyball player, playing both professionally and with the national team. It just takes up too much time. It takes up your entire life. You don't have time to do other things.
That's for sure.
So I'm definitely excited to see Gord this summer on the sidelines at the Vancouver Open, chirping just like he was back in 2017. And really just to keep on continuing killing it with all the club teams that he plays with. As we can see it right now. He's in Russia. He's playing for the best team. They just lost their first set this weekend.
Yeah,
that's it though. They're undefeated, and he's still killing it, right? So Gord, from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of all Canadian volleyball fans, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for the impact and the role that you've had on this team. Thank you for changing Canadian volleyball, because that's what you did. You changed the game in this country.
Totally.
And we thank you for it.
All right, really quick, I'm going to mess with something with this stream to hopefully make it a little smoother for everyone else.
Oh, now it's not no data coming through.
Yep. Okay, I just restarted it. Is it back?
Not yet.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we're back. I can tell we're back because I can see Everett eating a cookie, and I've switched the camera views, so that's good news.
Oop, actually, it's a Cliff Bar. No free ads though.
Close enough. All right, sorry about those tech issues, boys and girls.
Let's just I don't have it. It's still saying. It's. Oh, okay. We are back. No, I'm sorry for eating. Okay, I didn't eat dinner before coming to this. Can we just address the the Gord Perrin retiring from the national team is less sad for Canadian volleyball than Kofi becoming a rapper? I mean, no, that's false. There's. I mean, I love Kofi.
That's hilarious.
I think he would have been great, but he played a couple of events for Team Canada. We don't know what would have happened for with Kofi, and we're talking about an all-time great versus a what could have been.
Yep, that's true.
So yeah, it's not comparable. Vibranium Steelix. I don't even know who that is.
I'm not sure who that is either. But I like that take. I think it's funny. Just to wrap a couple things up about Gord, I'm reading from the FIVB's release about it that he's retiring today. First of all, he's only 32. 32 is young to be retiring from the national team. It's surprising in that way because with the next Olympics only 3 years away, he would be 35, and I think that's doable. But just choosing not to go for it. And he says, quote, "I'd like to thank all the coaches and staff that I've had the honor to work with along the way. I think Volleyball Canada has a good foundation of players to continue on and chase down bigger goals. I will always watch closely and still feel very invested in the success and evolution from the team." So that doesn't sound to me like he's distancing himself from the national team. He's just choosing not to play, maybe just for it's just this next quad, but I don't know. We'll see if we have indeed seen the last of Gord Perrin in the Maple Volleys uniform. But with a lot of things like this, I'm never totally convinced until I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with national team retirements, I've seen how some of the things happen behind the scenes sometimes, and yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's a little all over the place. Can you hear me at the moment?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, cool. Everything's just buffering on my end. So, But yeah, we'll keep that. But as I said, thank you very much, Gord.
Yeah, Gord's a legend. I've always loved watching him play, even against the U.S. I think he's been a tremendous asset for Team Canada and helped them really get to where they are now. And I'm excited he's still going to be playing club, but it's gonna be weird seeing a summer of Canadian volleyball without him involved. All right,
I've never known a Canadian team without Gord Perrin.
Yeah,
So that for me is going to be, I used to, when I first worked for Volleyball Canada back in 2011, there was a Gord Perrin poster right beside me on the wall in my cubicle, from when he played with the junior team. So yeah, he had a Bieber haircut back then too. It was great. But, yeah, sorry. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. Shouts to Gord. Also, shout outs to Conegliano tying the record for all-time consecutive wins it's either in women's volleyball or in all of volleyball period at 73 in a row. That is just a ridiculous and unfathomable number. How do you even win 73 matches in a row? How do you even keep track of 73 matches in a row? I don't know, but they have an opportunity to break that record this weekend. I don't think they're playing a particularly good team, so I expect that to go to 74 and the all-time new record to be set. Everett, any serious takes on 73 straight match wins?
I mean, it's incredible. There's no other ways. It is incredible. Am I surprised? No, not really. I mean, I think we saw it last week when they beat Busto, like without Sila and without other players, the way that Busto played. I can't remember if it was Tommy or Monty in the chat saying, they're probably going to win 100 now. And it really comes down to just how dominant Logano is. And she is like I said last week, she gets bored out there. If they're gonna lose a game, it's just because she's gonna become disinterested in what's happening. I don't think anyone can touch her. So yeah, I think it's incredibly impressive the run that they've been having, and I think it's incredibly impressive the run that she's been having in general. It's too bad that she wasn't able to win the Olympics this summer. I know you don't feel that way, and I mean honestly, I let's be honest, I was cheering for the American women's team as well. But other than that, she's the most dominant player in the sport, perhaps ever. And yeah, I mean, unless they're playing they're not going to lose to a nothing team. Right? It's either going to be Busto or Monza or Vara, be Scandici. And obviously Vakif Bank or something like that in the Champions League. But yeah, I'm not surprised whatsoever that they're going for the all-time record.
Yeah, and like we'll talk about in a little bit, their pool for Champions League is pretty easy. They don't have anyone of Vakif Bank's caliber or anyone even close to that. So yeah, who knows how long this streak's going to go. Let's do an over-under. Over-under 90. You think they get to 90? Or you think they lose one short? You think over?
Over. Well, you have to think about how many games are left in the season, right? With Italian Cup and Champions League and regular season.
That's
and
a
playoffs.
lot of games, dude. And which is why I don't think
they've already won 73.
I don't
we're already this far into it.
I think they get to 90, but I'm not sure they get to 100. I think they'll get to a point in either. Well, it'll probably have to be Champions League against someone like Vakif Bank because I think that last year we saw them play Novara in several pretty high profile situations, and Novara was really good last year, and Vakif Bank and Conegliano stomped them every single time. I think there's a mental thing now with the other teams in Italy that there's this invincibility complex surrounding Conegliano, and I don't think there is a belief amongst their opponents that they can be beaten a lot of the time, and that
hope at most.
Yeah, there's very, very little hope when you're on the other side of the net from Conegliano. So, I'll give them 90, but if they get to 100, that'll really be ridiculous.
So just real quick, they do have to play Trentino this week. Trentino is a solid 1-6 at the moment, sitting in dead last in the Lega Volley Femminile.
I believe that will be next week. We'll be talking about 74 or maybe more.
Yeah. And that's just incredible. And also, I think we do have to give credit to one other person. That's Voloj.
She's awesome. She's the best setter in the world, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I believe that she is. She's so ridiculously good, and the way that she can move Egonu around, like, not that it matters where you set her because she still won't be stopped, but the consistency of her release I think is really good. Her hand placement's just technically absolutely outstanding, and I think that anything tight on the net or any of those 50-50 balls, junk balls, jousts, one-handed sets, like setter attacks when she's in the front row, I think she has the advantage in every single one of those situations, and there aren't very many setters in the world that I can say that about.
Okay, fair enough. I like that. I do want to bring up right now too that but let's just jump onto it right now that there's reports coming out of Vakifbank that they are chasing after both Egonu and Zhu Ting for their team for next year.
I did see those reports, and that's really interesting. I don't know how they can possibly have the money to pay both those players, but this is Vakifbank we're talking about.
Either or, you know.
Yeah, yeah. If they get both, they'll be the best team ever assembled. If they get one, it'll be a massive deal for the transfer market. I think getting Zhu Ting makes more sense because they already have Isabel Hawk, who's in that elite echelon. So if they get an outside hitter of that caliber, watch out.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
All right, let's move on. Superliga men's. This was the biggest match in the men's Superliga this weekend. Lube, we're saying that they kind of stomped on Modena. They beat him 3-1. It was pretty competitive. But the real crazy thing to me was that Lube did not have Osmani Wantarena. They obviously don't have Ivan Zaitsev, who has yet to play this year. He's still coming off a knee surgery. They ran their entire offense through the middle. 28 attacking attempts combined for the middles and on just ridiculously high efficiency. And I think they outblocked Modena. Ace to error ratio, listen to this. Lube, nine aces for Lube to 16 errors. Modena, 2 aces to 27 errors. That right there is like they gave away an entire set just in service errors and didn't get anything back in aces.
Nothing, right?
That's like a USA men's Olympics stat line. It's unbelievable.
So what's happening there? You know, like why is that? Like what was it? Namir had 9 errors.
It's a lot.
9 errors, no aces. Like him and himself, like he had a way worse, like 9 errors on 16 attempts. That's brutal.
That's
just
bad.
Throwing an underhand serve.
Yeah, that's bad.
You know, like that's just terrible. Now the big thing about this is as bad as this result was for Modena. You know, you're playing against Lube, as you said. No Wantarena, no Zaitsev. You've got a rookie in Gabby Garcia out there. He's being subbed out for another rookie, more or less, in Marlon Yant. You've got Yuri Kovar, the 420 god, and Lucarelli holding you down on the left side.
Yeah, dude, Yuri Kovar playing starting a whole match at outside hitter, going 5 for 12 with only 1 error and 4 blocks and no passing errors. Perfect role player performance. Then you bring Marlon Yant in at the opposite, which I thought was really interesting. And the fact that Lube can win a match like this over a team as good as Modena in this way, with this particular, like these injury problems that they're dealing with, it's scary, dude. Lube's scary. They're going to get back Wantarena. They're going to get back Zaitsev. And the crazy thing about that is those are both upgrades at both those positions, and they're both Italian. So that neither of those guys count against the foreigner limits, which they've had serious issues with so far. Like they've had to take DeCecco out of the starting lineup a couple times to keep like a respectable lineup on the floor with their injuries and having to follow the Italian limits. They get 2 of the best players in the world back that are both Italian. Watch out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We've got Ronnie in the chat that's saying Yant is a future GOAT. I don't disagree with that.
Lopez is better than him. Seth made the right point. Yeah, Lopez is better than him.
That is the conversation happening in the chat, right? That Lopez. I mean, but it's 25 years versus 20. So I mean, hey, Lopez does have 5 years on him. But yeah, I think Yant is. Don't get me wrong.
I think Yant's awesome. He's been really good this season. I think he's been a level above where he was last year. He when he's played outside hitter, he's passed the ball better. He's seeing the block better. He's still a weapon from the service line. I think it's proving out the model for a club like Lube to bring in a young superstar prospect and not actually play him that much the first couple years, and then you start to reap the dividends in year 2, year 3, whatever. Like that's the move with Gabi Garcia. He's having to play out of necessity right now. But like players like that, they brought in Brendan Sander a couple years ago when he was a rookie. Like normally kids of that age or of that experience don't get deals with Lube Civitanova. But apparently when they do, and they just get lots of reps in practice and come in very rarely, we've seen it work out pretty well a couple times. And I think it was a great move for Marlon Yant's development, and so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Perugia do the same thing with Nomuri Kaida, who's just been destroying the Korean League for the past couple of years. But I think the biggest news to come out of this, though, is not the actual game itself, but what was said afterwards.
Yes,
is the owner of Modena going into the press and basically saying Pedrini is out there saying that she's like, look, I'm not happy. No one's happy right now. And essentially, we've got 2 games to figure it out, and it's up to Gianni to pull this team out in their next 2 games, which the next 2 games are against Trentino and Perugia. So you've got arguably 2 of the best teams, like definitely Perugia, arguably one of the best teams in the world. Trentino has been looking good all season. We're going to talk about Micheletto and his ankle situation in a little bit, but I mean, it's not like they're playing Taranto. It's not like they're playing Ravenna or any of the bad teams. They have to play 2 of the top 4s, two of the big 4. And on top of that, she goes, it's up to Gianni to pull us out of this. Like, Gianni is on the chopping block right now.
Dude, hot seat getting hotter
he's
by
on
the day.
Hot seat.
And yeah, you're right. If the 2 matches that they have coming up, like, even if he coaches the best 2 matches of his life, there's still a chance that they lose those matches because of who they're playing against.
Right. And I mean, we saw it last year with, what was it, Blangini and Heinen both getting the axe in the playoffs. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like Heinen was axed in the middle of the Superliga final, right? The coaching, like there's no coaching security whatsoever in volleyball in general. So, like we very well may be seeing a new coach in Modena in a couple of weeks, right? And at that point, like what does happen? Because this was the dream team. They brought the boys back together,
right?
The boys are back in town, and they're not able to get it done. And they're pulling out embarrassing results. Like I have to call this an embarrassing result against Lube because of what Lube was able to do, not only the way that Lube was able to beat them, but who they were putting on the floor, right? Like 27 service errors is an absolute joke.
Yeah, it's bad.
Absolute joke.
Really bad. We've got to talk about Irvin Ingapeth with a stinker performance of the year so far. 9 for 32 with 7 errors is really bad. In the 2 extra point sets that Modena lost, so set 4 27-29, set 4 28-30. Irvin got roofed on the right side to lose both of those sets. So Modena might have a rotation 1 problem as well because I think Irvin throughout his career has been really good on the right side. You just throw him balls over there, but he's not so transformationally good that you shouldn't be setting Namir or a middle or Leal out of the pipe or something. Like if they're that predictable in that rotation to go to Ingapeth in both those late stage situations in rotation 1, him to get roofed both times to lose those sets, that's a little microcosm of probably a bigger problem. Irvin was not good yesterday, but there's no reason to lean on him that heavily to get you out of that 1 rotation. You just don't have to do that.
No, absolutely not. Like I know Namir maybe isn't the best hitting out of the left side, but I mean you've got Leal in the pipe.
Yeah,
you've got your middles. Something needs to change in Modena, and I don't know what it is. And the reality with volleyball is that it probably has to be the coach, right? Like it's not like you're making a trade. It's not like you can sign someone who is good off of free agency. Maybe we'll see what's coming up in the transfer window, but no one's going to be able to step in to fill the roles and the pressure of what's expected from a club like Modena, right?
Nobody that high profile. And you're right. The problem for Modena is not roster construction. They have all the pieces they can possibly need. They have the perfect distribution of Italians and foreigners. It's up to I guess it has to be up to the coach to figure out how to make it all work together. So we'll see. They do have some really ridiculously tough matches ahead of them. I'm very curious to hear Tommy's thoughts, being a big Modena fan. But yeah, Modena and Coach Gianni definitely on the hot seat.
Yeah, absolutely, without any way. Just reading the chat here. Ronnie here right now. He's just like, I think in Modena there's a lot of overrated players whose best moments already passed. Angapeth, maybe Gold in Tokyo, but his game since he went to Kazan isn't good. Basically, do you agree with that? Do you think you've got kind of
really
a bunch of old heads who can't cope anymore?
That's I don't think age is the problem. Again, all these players, if they're put in exactly the right perfect situation, even at this stage in each of their individual careers, they'll be just fine, bordering on world class, which we believe them all to be. Bruno, Namir, Leal, Ingapet, like all four of those guys. There's no reason for the four of them individually and together not to be an absolutely world class unit right now. I don't think there's any issues in them being past their prime. I think we've all seen them be unbelievably good within the past 12 months at some point. So there's no reason for that not to be possible in this season for Modena. And I think that is just it's a difficult task for Gianni to have to figure it out, but I think that's his job.
Yeah, absolutely. And like ultimately, like at this point, fully, I'm expecting Gianni to get fired. Like I don't see who it can't be. But ultimately, I'm not that worried about Modena.
Oh no,
right? Because of the age and experience of all these athletes and how well that they've worked together in the past. Like I just see them being able to figure it out. Like it may just be a little like lethargy. You know, there's a little lethargic right now. But yeah, I think that they're going to be fine. But this may be the end of Gianni in Modena.
I think we're going to be fine, and we can talk about that more as if that firing actually does take place. All right.
If they just can't go get Heinen, that's all.
Oh God, that would be a mess. All right, Zaksa versus Joshebski from what day was this? Last Wednesday. Yeah, we talked about it on last week's show, previewing one of the biggest matches in the Bundesliga so far this season. JW beat Zaksa in the Super Cup finals, like easily 3-0, and Zaksa turned around and beat him. Trevor Kleveno was not good. Like it was a classic Kleva no rather than Kleva yes. Kleveno got benched in the second set. Norbert Huber was really good for Zaksa. They beat him close. Marcin Janusz had an ace in the third to win the match. Good match. Zaksa was the better team that day.
I think Zaksa is the better team overall. You know, just because they beat them in whatever preseason cup it was, like I just think that Zaksa is a better run club, and I think that their rosters is better, even though they've had as much turnover as they did. I still think that Zaksa is better. I think Semeniuk and Slivka is a top, outside pairing in the world, and I think Kaczmarek, low-key, one of the top right sides in the world, are none. I said it last year, and I got a lot of flack for it, but I still think that maybe Poland might have had better luck if they had Kaczmarek out there instead of Kurek, just because he knows how to play his role and he knows how to be the guy when he needs to be, but he knows how to just be a role player when he needs to be as well.
I do not think that was the problem for Poland by any means, but there is a little bit of validity to that take. I think that the JW has a setting advantage. I think they have every bit as much firepower on the wings as Zaksa does. I think Zaksa has a little advantage in the middle, but not by much, really. The difference is Zaksa's chemistry. It's the chemistry, it's the team identity, it's the skill and the play style that we've grown to love about that team that has remained intact even despite all the transfers in the offseason. It's the Zaksa style of volleyball that still, to this day, even after the changes, holds up in the Bundesliga so far and will get tested very seriously in Champions League, which leads us to this. The Champions League pools have been decided, and oh my goodness, look at Pool C. Look at it!
Yeah, Pool C is,
poor
Maribor because they're going to get destroyed.
A fat 0-6.
On this Zaksa thing, I do think that Zaksa and Trentino have a lot of parallels, which is funny why they they succeeded last year.
Totally.
In terms of that, they're both of them aren't the highest. They don't have the highest budgets of their respective leagues. However, the system that they run and the quality of the organization is just very good. It's world class, right? So I think that Zaksa is going to be one of those teams that no matter who loses is going to be another one up next. A lot because they're how they work with their juniors. I mean, when you saw that Semeniuk, completely unheralded, never on any junior team with Poland, never kind of a guy, and now he's world class, right? So I think that you're always going to see, the same way that the Green Bay Packers are always good because they have a solid organization behind them. So is Zaksa. And now we can go back into the pool. Sorry, that was the one thing I wanted to say.
No, I love that shout out, and I think that's a great point, and there are definitely parallels there. And it was funny to see them play head to head last year in the Super Finals. By the way, go check out the CV YouTube channel because there's a video of like an on-court baseline view of that Super Finals championship match last year, and it is absolutely
so good,
unbelievable.
So good.
God, the camera angle is just wonderful. We could have shows on shows talking about how good that is.
I might have brought out the bottle of Jergens to watch that one, but let's go into the pools.
Champions League pools. Pool C, clearly the most stacked pool. Lube, Zaksa, Novosibirsk. You've got Pool E with Trentino and Perugia, which is pretty spicy. Pool A, you have JW and Friedrichshafen. Pool B, Dynamo Moscow, and not much else. Pool D, ZSP and Berlin. So we'll dive into Champions League a little bit more in the next couple of weeks, but the pools are set, and the first men's matches are 2 weeks from today. That's, I think, Tuesday, quick. November 31st.
Do you know what Americans are on what teams?
Yes, but I think we'll break that down the next couple of weeks. Berlin is obviously stacked full of Americans. Peru just got Matt Anderson. There are a couple of Americans on Friedrichshafen. Let's see, or else off the top of my head. Some of the smaller clubs have probably got a couple. You've obviously got Gord and Lokomotiv. You've got Shoji and Zaksa, if you want to count Gabby Garcia, the Puerto Rican, and Lube. We'll get to some more of that as we break down those pools a little bit more. But yeah, we'll spotlight the North Americans playing in those matches. But Pool C just jumps off the page.
Yeah, but I mean, Pool C is going to be a bloodbath. Totally. And I mean, it sucks because of the way that Champions League is being run this year. What is it? The 5 first place teams, the next 3 second place teams.
Yep.
So as soon as you're in a pool like Pool C, that's just going to disadvantage you, right? Because no one's getting out of that pool unscathed, right? There's no way that none of those teams are going to go a perfect 6-0.
Probably not.
And so like that whoever that second place team is probably not going to have enough points.
There's a very good chance that second place in that pool will not be good enough to make it out because those teams are just going to beat up on one another, and that's what's going to make it just so much more interesting. And yet, like 100%. Trentino and Perugia, for example, in Pool E, like they might beat up on one another. Let's say they split, then cool, they're both 5-1, and they both make it out. It's actually kind of like last year. I think Perugia and Lube were in the same pool, and it was very much the same situation. They beat up on one another, and then the other two teams didn't have a chance. But when you have three in one pool, makes it all that much more important to win the pool because the chances of you making it out in second are much, much less. So that will be really, really spicy to follow along with this Champions League.
What do you think the weakest pool is? Sorry.
Oh, the weakest pool? It's got to be Pool B, I think. Dynamo Moscow, Masaic. Even Varsava's good, and that match will be spotlighted a couple Wednesdays from now. And then I can't even see who the other team is. Novi Sad, Serbia, maybe?
Pool B, it'd be Ankara. Ankara.
Ankara. So Novi Sad's in Pool D. That pool doesn't do much for me. Pool D is just going to be a test of how good Berlin is compared to the rest of Europe. ZSP, I think that'll be a good match. But B, I think Dynamo Moscow is so much better than everyone else in that pool. I'm not that excited about it.
No, me neither. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like just the quality of pools this year isn't there for Champions League. But maybe it's like that every year.
Dude, it kind of is like that every year. And there's some wacky stuff that happens every year. Like last year we had the Modena thing where whoever it was, Kuzbas missed out on advancing by literally 7 points on the court. That was bonkers. Yep. Like there's always crazy stuff in Champions League no matter what. So we can break down the pool draws all we want, but it'll obviously be more fun than that. Take a look at the women's really quick. I think Pool C is probably the most interesting pool there as well. You've got Dinamo Moscow, Novara, and THY Istanbul. And there will be a match, I think. So these matches start a week from today. Next Tuesday starts Women's Champions League. And then some of the good matches are next Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll talk about it more on next week's show. But there will be a match between Lauren Carlini and Micah Hancock in this pool of Champions League. And that is as spicy as it gets.
That is a spicy meatball for sure.
Sheesh.
Because, it was very well known. We talked about it. We did a podcast in the Volleyball Source podcast earlier this year to talk about how Carlini, who was everyone slaughtered as the S1 for Team USA. And then when it came to selecting that team, Karch completely leaves her off. They go with Micah Hancock and Jordan Poulter.
And then Poulter starts. So you can assume that it was Hancock and Carlini fighting for that one spot. And Hancock ends up has an Olympic gold medal around her neck, and Carlini doesn't. So we can make all the storylines in the world out of that match. So that's really interesting. What else do we got here? Conegliano in Pool E, that no problem. Vakifbank Pool B, they have Monza. That's a week from tomorrow, so we'll talk about it on next week's show. I actually think that'll be pretty interesting. Pool A doesn't do anything for me. Pool D doesn't really do anything for me. But yeah, Pool C, there's some serious drama going to be coming out of there for sure.
Yeah, Pool D is there's a couple of Canadians playing in Pool D on Bizier. Another Canadian to be playing with Taya Istanbul and Kira Van Rijk. Just a quick shout out to her, 33 points this weekend against Vakifbank. Just absolutely gunning for it. She's currently fourth in the Turkish league, averaging 5.57 points per set. So that is lights out scoring by Kira Van Rijk and Taya Istanbul. But yeah, going up against Novara, it's basically like the thing is in that one is that Novara is a much more complete team than Taya Istanbul. And I think we saw it against Vakifbank how no other player scored into double digits, and you had Kira Van Rijk scoring 33. So it's really going to be how well can Carlini keep her cool against a Haley Washington, a Micah Hancock, and a stacked Novara team.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. Yeah, shout outs to Van Rijk for sure. So THY lost to Vakifbank 3-1, like 29-27, 32-30, and 25-22 were the sets that they lost. So that was a battle of all battles, and it seemed like pretty one-sided offensively for THY, so nice sign there for Canadian fans. Wrap it up really quick, the rest of what happened in the Superliga men's this past weekend. So we talked about Lube Modena. Perugia beat Milano 3-0. I have nothing else to add about that, to be honest.
No.
Okay.
Honestly, I was kind of expecting more out of Milano.
Dude, I don't think Milano's as good as we thought they might be. I think Paolo Porro's struggling a little bit. You have Jean Patry, who I think was, in my opinion, the best player on that French Olympic winning team this summer. He's been fine. Thomas Jeschke's been fine. Yuki Ishikawa's been fine, but they just can't seem to win any close games. And a lot of them are close, and they just can't. They're beating all the teams they're supposed to, and they're not beating anyone above them. And so that's just kind of where they're at.
Only one guy in the top 20 of scoring for Milano, and that's Jean Patry, with 75 points, averaging under 4 points a set. So you've got no one on that team who's averaging over 4 points a set, and that's worrisome. That's really worrisome if you're Milano.
Yep. Nothing really to say about Perugia. They're awesome, still undefeated. Trentino 3-1 Monza. So Trentino able to beat a pretty good Monza team without Alessandro Micheletto, who has been out with an ankle injury, but he dressed and he warmed up for this match this past weekend, and that was way ahead of schedule for him. They thought that he was going to be out for 2 weeks for sure. So a really good sign, especially because they play Piacenza tomorrow and then Modena on Sunday. So 2 big matches coming up for Trento, and if Micheletto can suit up for one of them, probably the Modena match. I don't know if he's going to be good enough to go tomorrow, but that'll be huge. Huge to get him back, and they've survived. They've kind of weathered the storm without him, so nice recovery progress there for the 19-year-old superstar.
Yeah. Do you think Monza's starting to come down back to earth?
I think they are a little bit.
They went to the Supercoppa finals, and they beat out Piacenza last week, but I just... we talked about it last week. I just don't see them keeping up this pace of winning and the pace of play throughout the rest of the season.
I kind of agree.
Flip side, I expect Trentino to only get better.
Yep, I completely agree. I think Trentino's stock is rising. Monza's is falling just a little bit. Vibo Valencia 3-0 Ravenna. I have nothing to say about this. Ravenna's coach got suspended for this match because he got the rare double card last week, and so Ravenna could have chosen to pay a fine instead of accept the suspension. They're like, nah, we don't want to pay any money. We'll coach without our we'll play without our coach for a game.
They clearly just don't have the money, right?
Dude. Yeah, they don't have anything. That club is in a tailspin. That is the most guaranteed relegation anyone's ever seen. So it's kind of a fight for the other relegation spot.
I am about to say something maybe shocking right now, but Yuji Nishida actually had a pretty good game.
Yeah, it was the MVP of the match. I thought it was pretty good.
53% attacking, 10 kills on 19 sets, only one error, one time was blocked, 5 errors versus 5 aces. So like that ratio of ace to error is massive, and I think that's the best part of Yuji Nishida's game. So after hating on him the last week, I'm actually going to give him a little bit of praise and say, hey, that was a good week for Yuji Nishida.
Yep, MVP of the match, well deserved. They were playing Ravenna though. You got to remember that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Do I think that he deserves? I mean, I think I saw Dustin Watton like post something on Instagram being like, "Oh, I watched Yuji Nishida this week and blah blah blah, all this stuff," and I was like, "Bro, like
playing Ravenna."
He was playing Ravenna. You know what? Like, let's put out Trinity Western out there, and it's going to be a better game than.
I guarantee you, Trinity Western could either hang with or beat Ravenna. I would actually really like to see that.
I have no doubt about it. Especially after we've watched them bounce all the American teams on the Cali tour this past week.
Yep. Piacenza 3-1 Cisterna. Aaron Russell got the start. I loved this. So they chose to go with the 2 Italian middles so that they could start Russell and Rosard. And we talked about that last week, that Piacenza is a little bit handcuffed by the foreigner limit. So I like that they tried this out, because we've seen more like Max Holt to play in the middle, and then they'll have to start Recine or Antonov. So this time they go with Aaron Russell. He played pretty well. Tonchek Stern came off the bench and was MVP of the match on his birthday, which I thought was cute. I think we sometimes hate on Tonchek Stern, but good for him. And Cisterna, I don't have much to say about them. We'll actually talk about them a little bit later with some transfer news and how it affects some Canadians. So let's save our opinions until that segment.
Not the greatest weekend for our Canadian guys on Cisterna. Arthur Schwartz had a not bad game, but Mar definitely a game to forget for him out there.
Yep. All right, so the last game was Toronto versus Padova, and in case you're asking why the hell would you watch this, I commentated this, so I had no choice but to watch this. Also, your boy...
I just watched it because you were commentating.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So let's check out this highlight play. That might be an ace serve. Whoa, what a play by Lorenzano jumping over the barrier. Oh, but a whistle, dude. A replay going to be called. Yeah, this was sick. That was a remarkable
Why are they calling that?
Play by Gabriele I still don't know. I made something up at the time and sent back over. A whistle by our officials to go take a look at this on the replay while the ball was still in play. Watch this again. Oh yeah, that's a completely clean pursuit. Lorenzano
there goes
got
the printer. There goes everything.
He touched the ground on the other side of the barrier. Yeah, I don't know if that's a rule. I just made that up on the fly. I have absolutely...
It depends on the event. It depends on the event. I think actually in the Italian league you can still land and play the ball, but I know FIVB you can't.
Okay, well,
yeah, incredible play there.
That play was electric. Let's actually watch it again. Why not? Gabriele Lorenzano. This kid is 18,
that might be an ace
and
serve.
Whoa, what
a play by Lorenzano jumping over the barrier.
Yeah, this is so sick. I've watched the last 3 or 4 Toronto matches because I've commentated all of them in a row, and he is 18 and he is so sick. He passes nails and he makes 2 or 3 ridiculously good defensive plays a game, and this was one of them.
I have to say though, they're not doing them justice with that libero jersey. I actually rate the Toronto jerseys pretty high. I think they're kind of nice, but that libero jersey, it looks like a practice jersey.
I actually kind of like the contrast of it, at least, and I agree. Toronto's kits are pretty solid. So speaking of defense, this was the first point of set 3. Check this out.
Zimmerman to Weber, tipped over the block. Wow, a pancake play made by the middle blocker, Martino, and then put away by Giulio Sabi. What a defensive play by number 18 in blue and red. A middle blocker with an absolutely textbook pancake play. Oh, just beautiful. He absolutely got underneath that ball. Padova does not believe that he did, but that looked clear to me on the replay and then put away by Sabi. What an
Great
awesome
shot
defensive
by Sabi
effort.
down the line too, eh?
And then you caught a little yellow card at the end of that because Botolo
really?
was complaining too much. Yeah, that was the first point of the third set. Yeah, dude, I always laugh about pancakes, especially when a middle does it, because I played middle for like 10 years. I have 0 pancakes in my life. I have never once done it successfully, and I've always wanted to. And this guy comes in and like serves first point of set 3 and makes an absolute beauty, just perfect. And then they immediately turn it into a point. I thought that was so awesome.
The only thing gets me harder than a middle dig is a baseline camera. I think you know that.
Oh, yes, of course.
But the middle dig is one of my favorite things in the game of volleyball.
Everyone goes nuts for it.
Absolutely. You know what? It's like a setter kill. Middle dig, setter kill, amazing. And not like a setter dump, but like a high ball that was set out to the right side. And obviously this doesn't happen at the pro level, usually at the college, but a high ball that goes out to the right side and the setter just crushes it. Or like that Joe Worsley, he just keeps on coming up in the show, that one clip of him crushing that ball. Amazing.
Electric.
But I've also on that, I think that when I coach, no pancakes. No pancakes. The pancake is one of the worst things that we have in volleyball, and we just shouldn't teach it. Because in the amount of times you see people pancaking down here, and it's just take that extra step, run through it, get your fist under it, pop it up. The pancake should be the last ditch effort. I think that one was actually a decent one. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he is a middle, but just no pancakes. No pancakes.
Dude, stop hating on pancakes. Pancakes are awesome, especially I've never had one in my life.
With maple syrup. That's about it.
Dude, pancakes are electric. You know what? Speaking of things that are electric, that came out of this Padova-Toronto match.
I wouldn't call this electric, but
this.
I've got the Clinton Lucas laugh right now.
This, boys and girls, is Federico Crosato, a 20-year-old middle for Padova, who, according to Eric Lepke, because Everett asked him, why on earth is his hair like this? Apparently, it's like tradition. They basically just hazing a rookie. You're hazing a rookie. And so they gave him what I called, dude, he actually played in the third set too, and I could not look at him on the while commentating without laughing. It was absolutely hysterical. I called this the reverse headphone haircut. Because he's just got the bar where my headphones are right now, just the bar of hair right there, and you also get a look at the 2 little horns on the front of his head.
Apparently, it was either this or no eyebrows, and he went with this.
I respect that because you can just buzz the rest of your head and then you grow it back and you're fine.
Absolutely. He looks like a pretty decent looking dude with the short hair. So if it was me, I don't know, I might just go for the eyebrows because my hair is a weird shape.
Dude,
my head's a weird shape.
So funny.
Man, look how bad that is.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. According to somebody from the Italian league, this was Linus Weber's idea. So their new opposite this year. The design itself was his brainchild. So shouts to him for this. I can't get enough of looking at this.
Imagine, I bet you that there's rules against this in other leagues. I bet you if in the NBA or the NFL, or maybe not the NFL because you're wearing a helmet, but there's probably something along the lines of you need to look good, right? There's imagine ESPN broadcasting a game and someone's got hair like this. Nah, bro, it's not happening. It's not happening.
So this reminds me of when I played in college, I played collegiate club at Purdue at the college club level, and it was tradition for us when we would go to nationals, the end of season tournament in April, for freshmen to cut their hair in very similar ways to this. Dude, this one gives every freshman haircut I ever saw at nationals a legitimate run for their money. This is absolutely world class. So I thought this was worth laughing about on the show.
Yeah, that's just fantastic.
Just beautiful. So back to the Super League, there's actually a little bit more news coming out of there. I did not expect to be talking about transfers in November, 4, 5, 6 matches into the season, but we've actually got a couple. So the first one, Arash Dosanjh, the Australian setter, the tall, he's 205, Indian Australian guy, to Toronto. That's official. He dressed and warmed up for the match this last weekend. So he's processed, like he's on the active roster. That is official. That is legit. In Toronto, like I've been watching him, like I don't know why else you would watch him, but they don't have very many foreigners. They've got João Rafael Ferreira, like this Brazilian outside. Other than that, all their starters are Italian, so they can afford to upgrade at setter if they want to. I kind of like their setters. This older guy named Marco Falaschi, but having this big, young, athletic setter is kind of a cool pickup for them. So I was excited about that move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Dosanjh. Pretty close here to the Indian volleyball community here in Toronto, not Toronto. As confusing as that is, and they really revere him. They rate him really highly. So yeah, I'm excited to see what this does. I think that's a good pickup for them, especially balancing out Falaschi really nicely. But we'll see if he gets onto the court and does anything good for them.
So tell me this next one, yeah.
So. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start with Ran Takahashi to Padova first.
Okay, sure.
I'm hoping that one is just a like a Yant situation. Like, hey, come in, like let's learn and stuff like that. Because I think he's still in high school or he's still in university.
So he's in university. I can clear this up really quick. So Takahashi to Padova is confirmed, but it hasn't been announced by anyone because Takahashi is still in university in Japan, and after the end of whatever his term is right now, in December, when he's done with this term at university, he will go to Italy. So that's confirmed. The reason why this makes sense is because Padova is hot garbage at passing, worst in the league by far, and that was very indicative this past weekend against Toronto. They passed like trash, and they really just couldn't hang. So Takahashi is not an offensive player. Passing is his game at this point in his young career, so he can come in and pass some balls for some outsides. But the concern, I'm sure from your perspective, Everett, is that he's going to take playing time away from Eric Lepke, and none of us want that.
Absolutely. That is 100% my concern. I think, to be perfectly honest, I think it may be because of how popular volleyball is in Japan, it may be a money thing, It's similar to Zhu Ting getting that last Alfa Romeo spot in F1. Yes, I'm bringing F1 references into this now.
Wow.
Whereas, like his fan base may be bigger, and may work for them in the long run to have someone like Takahashi on their team. We've seen it with Milan and their affinity towards Ishikawa, obviously Vibo and Yuji Nishida. So I think it's just like it's a chance for Padova to be like, hey, let's bring in a Japanese player, and we're going to get more play on Volleyball World TV, because that's obviously what they look for first. Is like, hey, what Japanese player can we spotlight this time? And maybe it helps them with jersey sales and stuff like that. I don't know, but I do see this as an issue being of Canadian descent. If you will, because we all know who's the first one to get the heave-ho once, the Japanese come around, and that's unfortunately the Canadians. So that one does worry me quite a bit.
2 years in a row that's shaping up to be the case for a different Canadian outside hitter to spend a little too much time riding the pine because of a Japanese guy.
Correct.
The other
second
move,
one, though.
Yes. So Iranian opposite Bardia Sadat to Cisterna. So this is the lefty that you saw in VNL this year. I think he's okay. I think he's 20. He's really young. But the consequences for this might be to move Arthur Schwartz back to the middle. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I don't hate it. And now, don't get me wrong. I understand Arthur wants to be on the right side. Everybody wants to be on the right side, right?
Can't confirm.
What was it? Was it Cy Michelle who was putting out is middle the hardest position in the game? Absolutely, it is, right? And you and I have both played middle. We're both undersized middles, and it's difficult, right? You're gonna do your job the bare minimum of the time, right? Like closing blocks, reading the setters, being on time, hitting, the whole rhythm of the offense depends on you, and most of the time you're not even going to hit the ball. You're not even
the hardest single job in all of high level volleyball is being a middle blocker when the ball is passed perfectly on the other side. It's an impossible job. So Schwartz is not an undersized middle blocker. He's a big boy.
Absolutely not.
And so it's been fun. It's been fun to see him on the right, but it might make more sense for Cisterna as a team to move him back to the middle if if Sadat can get up to speed quickly. I think we might see both. It won't affect Stephen Marr's playing time, fortunately.
Of course not.
Because I think they have Baranovic as the setter. He's Italian. They have an Italian second outside and an Italian libero. So there's no worry for foreigner limits there, fortunately for the Canadian fans. So I'm kind of curious to see how all these play out.
We saw Arthur Schwartz finish in the top 20 in scoring last year as a middle. And yes, he did play some games on the right side, and I know that changed things. But you know what? I like him in the middle. I think that maybe his ball control and just his small ball isn't the greatest. If he doesn't get the perfect set, like he's not going to be able to do a chip. He's not going to be able to do anything. Like he's a pure banger, an absolutely pure banger.
And I love bangers.
So do I. Trust me. But at the end of the day, I'm especially with the announcement of Gord Perrin retiring from the Canadian national team. I think we just need to keep things as much as possible. We've got a lot of talent on the right side. We've got Sclater. We've got Vernon Evans. We've got Xander Kuczynski, Matt Neves. Like the list goes on and on, right? But Arthur Schwartz is hands down one of the best middles in our system. Agreed. And we need him playing in the middle. And you know what? That transition of having to go to the right side to the middle, I'm just not a fan of it. So you know what? Yep. Absolutely. I know he's probably won't be happy with me saying this, but like, if it comes out of that, not mad at all about seeing him back in the middle for
it is
just turn up.
It is better for the Canadian national team if Schwartz plays middle professionally. Completely agree.
100%.
So this was announced today. There's not all that much that I have to say about this. So the AVP and USA Volleyball, the organization, have announced some kind of strategic partnership to just grow beach volleyball in the States. There's not many details out about this right now, but it's a good sign because these two organizations have butted heads before. The AVP was previously a very unstable organization. They now have a more stable parent company, and they now have the backing of USA Volleyball. So this is a very good thing if you're a beach volleyball fan. Jamie Davis, the CEO of USA Volleyball, said in the press release, pretty much all of our USAV beach athletes play on the AVP tour anyway. So there's no reason not for these two organizations to get along. Before we get Everett's takes, is I think you're a little bit more knowledgeable of a beach guy than I am. I want USAV next to throw their weight behind an indoor organization, namely the VLA.
I mean, hey, I think we'd all like that. But you know what? I do see some good things. I mean, in other tours, there is like national tour points that go into FIVB rankings. I know they're not a lot, but like maybe it would be something, to allow some of that transition. Whereas like sometimes you have top AVP teams who have to start down in the qualifier of FIVB events. I mean, there's so much changing with the FIVB World Tour now. It's like the Pro Beach Volleyball Tour. Still need to do a podcast with Lou Lett to figure out what's going on with all of that.
Absolutely.
But I am worried about that slightly, because I really liked the inroads and the changes to the game that the AVP has been making recently. Everything they've been doing on the AVP next side, the AVP grass tour, all of that stuff has been phenomenal. And like hats off to AVP. It's sad for me because I got a chance to meet and talk to Donald Sun back in Chicago in 2019 at the AVP Championships there, and I really commended him for how he built that AVP back up. I mean, when they took it over, the AVP was done. Like the first Manhattan Beach Championships after that, like they didn't have a grandstand. Like it was just bring your chairs down. So they built the AVP back up to what it is today. And they had some great things. Like I think the implementation of the freeze on match point is genius. And it's things like that I'm scared that we're going to see as they are probably going to go back to the traditional falling underneath the lines of what the governing body says. And I've seen that. And I think that's a bad thing in volleyball, because I think that whoever's at the top, aka the FIVB, NORCECA, CEV, they don't necessarily know what they're doing. I've said this before. I think that people at some of these organizations, and this includes Volleyball Canada and this USAV, is often three boomers in a trench coat. Who don't necessarily know what is happening in volleyball and what it needs. And I think that the AVP was an organization and a league, maybe one of the best brands that we have within volleyball, maybe one of the best well-known brands that we have within volleyball, that we're changing the game a little bit. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this partnership.
It's a good partnership. The imagery of three boomers in a trench coat is absolutely
That's
hysterical.
one of my favorites.
That's amazing. So the thing that I like about the AVP's brand, like you're saying, that I think a lot more organizations could learn from, is that they don't discourage bad blood and rivalries. In fact, they encourage them.
Fuel it. Trevor Crabb, let's go.
Versus his brother. Yeah, Trevor Crabb is a trash talker. Triborn is a trash talker. And it's when those guys really get in the zone, especially when they're winning, they've got a little bad boy vibe to them, and it's something that the volleyball world needs so badly, is to have enemies, villains, heroes. Like there's got to be a more dramatic arc to some of these storylines, and the highest levels, the highest governing body organizations want everything to be so polished and happy and strictly positive. And I know this because I'm under the guidance of the FIVB's commentary guidelines. They want everything to be positive, no trash talking, no bad blood, all sportsmanship. Dude, screw that. The drama of the rivalries, the actual like beef, the trash talk is what makes sports fun. And that's what I like about the AVP, and I hope that doesn't get filtered too much by this partnership. Again, we don't really know any details about this, but it's something about the AVP that I like, and I'm not a beach volleyball fan at all. But because there are teams there are teams and players that legitimately don't like each other, that makes me want to watch it more. And indoor volleyball can really learn from that, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's put away the cards. Let's let the boys chirp. We're the only we've got a net between us. Like nothing's gonna happen.
By the way,
and even then, right? If you're Brazilian and you're wearing a Brazilian jersey, you're allowed to choke people through the net, as we saw Fonteles do to Gord Perrin a few years ago at the World Championships, right?
Yes.
So let's just go. Let's just let the boys talk. Let them go.
If you are interested,
and girls,
if you're interested in an indoor volleyball organization that believes in no cards and encouraging rivalries, you should watch the VLA this season. Our organization has told refs, do not card anyone. Don't tell anyone to quiet down. They're allowed to yell at each other, they're not allowed to yell at the refs. But any discipline of anything that happens on court like that will come from the league, not the refs. We encourage the rivalries, and yep, what's not to love. All right, wrapping up the show this week with some matches to watch, and we'll be scanning the chat for anybody other than Ronnie that has any thoughts in the chat. Hit us up. Trentino versus Piacenza tomorrow is the first one on the list. Tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, Trentino Piacenza on volleyballworld.tv, so you should know where to find that by now. That'll be interesting. We'll see if Trentino, likely without Micheletto, can beat a pretty good Piacenza team who seems to be figuring themselves out a little bit. Vakifbank Galatasaray women's in Turkey is on Saturday, very early morning. Those are the top two of the top three teams in the standings right now. Joshebski versus Zavierce on Saturday morning also. That's teams 2 and 3 in the Plusliga right now going head to head. And then a very spicy one, Zenith Kazan versus Novosibirsk. I think the match in Russia that we've all been waiting for, that's Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. I don't know exactly where to find that, but Everett, that can be a task of ours, is to find a stream for that. Definitely join the Discord. That'll be the first place we post it. TV start? Okay.
TV start.
That is the Russian match that we have all been waiting for this year.
Not for you, and everything is free in Russia.
Magical.
So you can watch it for free. It's a great broadcast. I think you can even watch it on demand as well too. But yeah, that's hands down. Like I'm going to be waking up. I think I closed the bar on Friday night. But yeah, I'm going to be waking up early. Maybe make myself some coffee. Maybe make some pancakes because they belong to be eaten, not on the volleyball court. And watch the one because yeah, it is going to be. It's going to be. It's one of the best matches that we've had early in the season for sure.
Totally. Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Ronnie says one of these matches got moved to Thursday. Man, Italy keeps changing their schedule. I can't. What am I supposed to do to keep up with all this stuff?
Trentino and Lube moved to Thursday.
Oh goodness.
Let's check this. I can look at this right now.
I'm checking it right now. Dude, I looked early today and it was scheduled for Wednesday. Come on.
No, yeah, Thursday. Both the Lube versus Toronto and the Trentino versus Piacenza. I think that Trentino versus Piacenza game has the chance to be fireworks, especially since Trentino might not have Micheletto back. I think that's maybe a little bit early for him. Yeah, I think that's going to be a great game.
Okay, yeah, Ronnie's right. Those matches are on Thursday, not Wednesday. Those literally just got moved. So check that out. And then last but not least, Sunday, Trentino versus Modena, noon Eastern. I want every single person listening to this right now to set an alarm on the calendar or something for noon Eastern time on Sunday. Trentino versus Modena, and not just because these two teams are good and it might result in Gianni getting fired and also all the storylines, but also it'll be my biggest match commentating Italian for sure so far. So I'll be on the sticks for that one, and that match will be spicy.
Hey, guys, you know what I want from people in the chat and people just watching this? I want you to message us words for Rob to use in the broadcast. Okay?
You better believe I'll be shouting out Daddy Stankovic in that match in some form or fashion. That one's already on my list.
Daddy.
Dude, Dragan Stankovic may have deleted his Instagram, and that breaks my heart.
Did he?
Yeah.
We looked at John Mayer.
Dude, we looked at it the other day. I also want to, while we're talking about Dragan Stankovic, I want to reread an Instagram DM that Dan Manili, our buddy from the 5-1 podcast, sent to Dragan earlier this year. So Dragan followed 5-1 on Instagram, and Dan messaged him saying, "Hi, Dragan, I am a big fan of yours. I was wondering if you had any tips on how you keep your hair looking so fresh." And his response was, "Ha ha ha, thanks. I'm not doing anything special. Every 2 days I wash my hair and I don't put anything on it after. That's it."
What a legend.
What a legend.
You know what? What a legend. Yo, I have to find it somewhere, but I remember I had a 2-up shot, and it was a picture of Stankovic with a picture of John Mayer, and they're pretty much like undistinguishable.
They really do look similar.
Like you like Taylor Swift may or may not have written a song about Daddy Stankovic, mistaking him for John.
All right, so something I want you guys to do when you're watching me commentate Trentino Modena on Sunday, screen grab anything cool that Dragan Stankovic does and relentlessly tag John Mayer in it on social media.
This needs to be, yes, I love this. This needs to be something we start. This absolutely has to be something we start. Like,
all right,
if we can get John Mayer onto a volleyball tip, that would be the best thing in the world. Best
all right,
thing in the world.
That's our mission. If you want to help us coordinate this effort, join the Volleyball Source Discord. The link is in the description of this video. I don't see anything else in the chat that we need to hit up now, Everett. Any more thoughts before we send the people off to their volleyball watching weeks?
No. The only thing would be one quick note is I'm going to talk about it somewhere else, but we actually have a new beach partnership in Canada. Sam Schachter is going to be pairing up with Dan Deering. Now, if you're American or even if you're Canadian, you may not know who Dan Deering is, but this is a pairing that I'm excited about. Dan Deering is probably the best beach volleyball player who has been playing professionally in Canada over the past few years. So that's going to be an exciting pairing. Just kind of a show note at the end of it. What do you think about ending it with a quick promo for what I showed you earlier?
Oh, dude, hit me.
Hit me? Okay. Well, if you're not aware of it, there is an online store that is alongside of Volleyball Source. It's that volleyball.store. You can purchase all of your favorite spicy volleyball merch there. But as of, pretty much today, we'll be releasing 9x9 merch. So you guys can head over there to purchase it. We actually have a Black Friday sale going on. It's going to be 25% off. Use the code SPICYFRIDAY for 25% off at that volleyball.store. So if you're watching it right now, 25% off. I'll be posting it in the Discord. I'll post it online as well. But yeah, 25% off at that volleyball.store for all your favorite volleyball merch.
That is dope. Yeah, you're going to want to check that stuff out. We'll get some more photos and more formalize that sale going on for next week's show, but we wanted to get that out now in case you're a super huge fan. That volleyball.store. I think that's about it for this week, boys and girls. Thanks for watching.